5:22 on Early Breakfast. Lots more of your Early Breakfast Club check-ins to come. First, let's get stuck into some of this morning's headlines with Georgia Gilholy, a journalist for politics.co.uk and political commentator with Young Voices UK. Good morning, Georgia.
Morning, Callum. Good to be here.
And good to have you with us. So Boris Johnson in the Commons then, Terry just laying out exactly what he's got to do, I suppose, really, in terms of his plan to win MPs of all sides round. This, of course, really focusing on Partygate. I think in the context, Boris Johnson is really going to try to bring in other things to kind of reset the agenda, you know, to talk up his work on Ukraine, his relationship with President Zelensky, for example. Just how hard a challenge is in front of Boris Johnson in terms of convincing MPs that Partygate is behind him, behind them, and indeed behind the electorate as well.
I think it will be quite difficult. I think until now, obviously with this one fine, him and Rishi Sunak have both received the argument and the line that was also sort of argued by the Times this morning. You know, the government have used the line that this was relatively minor what they got fined for, and even though they agree that it was okay, they got fined. They sort of, you know, they paid it. They admitted that they ought to pay the fine. Basically, this is obviously not going to work if they have to pay another fine, another fine, another fine. This could just keep going on for a long time. We also don't actually know officially how the Met are investigating it. I think a lot of journalists sort of guessing that they're doing it chronologically, with this party sort of occurring mid-2020. Obviously, the main thing that sticks in people's heads is, of course, the photo in the garden, which was later in 2020, and then also all those Christmas alleged gatherings. And I think that, especially with the police investigation going on, you can't sort of stick to a point on this because it could get worse for him. And also, you know, I think most Conservative MPs are happy right now to support him and sort of say, oh, well, you know, he's doing this and that in Ukraine, etc. I think if this escalates, it's going to get increasingly harder for them to defend him, especially when they know from polling that voters aren't very happy about this.
I think that's right. And it's kind of... It's the unknown, I suppose. So it's almost as though we were all kind of standing by to see if any fines would be issued. One fine was issued, confirming that the Prime Minister broke the law. He paid the fine. And now it's about anticipating whether there will be more fines. Our chief political commentator on Times Radio, Lucy Fisher, describes this as a red alert, really, for the Prime Minister, because if the fines keep coming, then that is an issue. And as Terry was just pointing out, you can't be in a position where, you know, week by week the Prime Minister has to return to the Commons and keep apologising for being fined for breaking the law.
Absolutely, it's just not politically sustainable. I tend to think that from what we know about Boris Johnson's character, he would sort of try and cling on until, you know, a moment where he would be pushed out. That, say, for example, if Rishi Sunak were to receive another fine and he were to step down. We've obviously had a lot of sources saying in the past few weeks, Rishi Sunak not having a great time in his political career right now, that he is sort of very dissatisfied in number 11. Well, he's actually, his family moved out, so I guess it is literally just him living in number 11. So I think that if something like that would happen to him, I think he would possibly throw in the towel, and then that would really set a precedent. And, you know, let's say Boris Johnson did continue to get more fines and he didn't step down, I think that would vastly improve Labour's chances of gaining more MPs at the next general election.
There's a suggestion, isn't there, that in the local election polls at the moment that Labour are actually, you know, streaking into the lead. Let's go on to this story. Ministers will slash the price of 1 million train tickets in half in an attempt to attract passengers back to the railways. Of course, it's trying to ease the cost of living and try to encourage domestic tourism as well. For context, seats on some London to Edinburgh services will fall to £22 and Leeds to York will drop to £2.80. Is this the sort of intervention that's needed in the cost of living crisis, Georgia?
I think because it's for a temporary period, and it's mostly tourism related. You know, there's not many people who are commuting from London to Edinburgh. I would feel sorry for them if they were. I think that it's obviously not going to help people with their general cost of living issues, which is, you know, mainly energy, food. I think, for domestic tourism, it will probably help, especially, you know, we have the May bank holidays coming up. However, you know, this is not going to solve the issues, the really deeply ingrained issues with the railways across the UK. I think what needs to happen is, Grant Shapps has made some head towards this, but to be a real consideration of why we sort of middle between privatised and partially nationalised the railways. And I think that it's quite unique in the world. And I think that, compared to especially a lot of other European countries, our train system is just disastrous and sort of becoming more so, with many people simply not using it because of COVID. They don't necessarily need to go to work on a train anymore, that kind of thing. So I think nice if you want to go on a mini break soon, but it's not really going to change anything.
Yeah, of course, it's been called the Great British Rail Sale, quite predictably. Georgia, lovely to speak to you this morning. Thank you for your time.
Okay, thanks so much. Bye.
Cheers, thank you. That's Georgia Gilholy, journalist for politics.co.uk and political commentator with Young Voices UK.